Hello, everyone. We'll get we'll get started in a couple of minutes. I'll just wait for Mark to get here. Good to see everyone tonight. Feel free to say hello in the chat box. And just a question to ponder. If you know the answer for yourself, that's great. You very likely already know your own answer. And if you feel like sharing it, please go ahead too, because the more we share, the more we realize that we're not alone. And whatever you are struggling with right now, often someone else, often many other people are struggling with the same or similar challenges. So so the question is, where in your life right now are you leaking your precious energy? It's a $1,000,000 question. And that's what we're going to dive into tonight. Boundaries and pain, and why does this matter? So make yourself comfortable. Sit back and relax, and I'll be back in a couple minutes and we'll get going. Yes, Karen. The question is, and hopefully you can see it up on the screen as well, where in your life right now are you leaking precious energy? Can you guys see? I hope you can see my screen. Yes, where in your life right now are you leaking your precious energy? So just take that in and think about where in your life, just like this fellow in the boat, where there are potential leaks that need to find a solution or be fixed or plugged. Yeah. Hello, Mark.
Hey, hi.
Hi. Hi, welcome.
Thanks.
Great. You can see my screen okay?
Yeah, looks fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. So so tonight we're going to be exploring boundaries, setting firm boundaries, clear, loving boundaries with yourself and with situations or people around you. And the idea being that there are certain places in your life that you potentially might need a little bit of cleanup, shall we say, maybe a bit of tightening, maybe some expression, maybe some conversations. And even more importantly, another $1,000,000 question is, why is this so difficult for you? I want to preface that by saying there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. That's not the message of that question. But we're going to explore a little bit about why it's so difficult to set boundaries in that particular area of your life. And usually there's a fear, a thought, an emotion that keeps us trapped in not being able to set that boundary. All right, so Mark, I'll get you to open us up and start the discussion.
Mm. Yeah, I guess just welcome on behalf of the Nelems Pain and Research Center to everybody who's joined us this evening. Thanks very much. I know it means a lot to give up a Monday evening, so we all appreciate that. Um, and again, just a note on in terms of confidentiality and sort of implied confidentiality, as looking at this as a sort of a group visit and respecting one another's confidentiality, and the patients and people feel free to post or ask questions and just respect one another. Thank you. That's all. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So this topic we have done before, and usually these subjects come up when I'm having conversations with people and themes start coming up where we're having difficulty, or from suggestions actually from all of you about what it is that you are struggling with right now. And this is one that comes up a lot in different ways. And I don't know if it's maybe because we're moving towards Christmas, and sometimes holidays are sometimes difficult time for people in many ways. But it really, setting boundaries does come back to you, nobody else, and really coming in to recognize and take responsibility for where you might not be carving out your life in a way that would feel better for you. Because when we are consistently, I mean, there's always times you do things out of obligation, or you do something out of guilt, or do something you'd rather not do, or give away your time or space. But when we're doing it consistently over time, you can imagine, well, I mean, you could guess how that would impact your health and how that would impact your experience of chronic pain. And so I do have some slides, but I feel free to, uh, we can also feel free to make this more of a discussion as well. So as we begin, as always, just pause. If you've already started thinking, oh, that person and this situation, and I wish I would have, but I can't, all those things that come up when it comes to boundaries, usually a lot of history, just pause. Take 3 deeper, slower breaths. Whatever you're transitioning from this evening, just take a moment to make this transition easier by relaxing your jaw. Notice your shoulders. Feel your feet on the ground, or feel where you're sitting in your chair or lying on your couch or your bed. Let your body sink its weight into where you're supported. And on your last breath, on your exhale, just release the day as best as you can to be here now. Okay. So, yeah, just notice, where are your energetic leaks? And often they come up in certain areas. Please, let me know if there's more that you're thinking of. But the first one that comes up that is usually time. I don't have any time for myself. I'm always pulled in so many different directions. And so there are times in your life where there's work, or there's family, or there's kids, that happens for a period of your day, which makes it even more important to claim your time outside of those periods of time. Okay? Space, the space that you occupy. Is it a space that makes you comfortable? Or is it something that you're going to have to set boundaries on yourself and start getting rid of some things that feel heavy, or feel weighed down, or feel weighted to the past? Is it, in terms of your own space, do you need some space to yourself? Is there a time, particularly in healing and recovery from illness or pain, there has to be a time where we just simply get to rest and recover and restore ourselves. Speaking up to people. Are there certain people in your life? It might be family, it might be certain friends or a friend that when you see their name on your phone come up, your phone's ringing, and you tap into yourself and feel a sinking in your body. That's not a good sign for your intuition. Or is it a healthcare professional? Is it something that you really feel like this time when you go into your doctor's office, you really want to be able to ask this question, or something you're wondering about, but maybe you feel afraid, or you feel like it's like a stupid question, which it never is, right? Right, Mark? When patients
Hmm.
come in, is when somebody comes into you, like, I know not all healthcare professionals have time or energy as well, but sometimes there's something people really want to say or ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any stupid questions. I think you're just expressing yourself. You're just asking a question. I mean, yeah, it's not always received that way. And given the current situation with healthcare, which is getting a little worse, yeah, it's there's probably going to be interactions that don't always go as smoothly as we hoped.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I've had one or two of those today. Like everybody else, it's just like, you
Yeah,
know,
going easy on yourself too, and not things.
mhm,
Some things don't go as well as you would have liked them to.
mhm,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. Like Chris says, physical and emotional barriers. Absolutely. Where in your life do you need to create more physical, and I'm assuming like physical spatial barriers, emotional barriers, and emotional barriers or boundaries is really where we can get tripped up for all kinds of reasons that we're going to get into. And hopefully, my goal for you, for everyone here tonight, by the end of tonight, that you go away with at least one step. It doesn't have to mean you just cut yourself off from your whole family or your friends, but at least one baby step forward, that you have a better understanding of why it's so difficult, and you also have the skills or the tools to be able to move forward even just a tiny bit.
Mhm,
Yeah, so, or doing something that you really don't want to do, feeling obligated, not appreciated, and anything else that comes up. um, Something was coming up for me around that, doing something that you don't want to do. Okay, so I had two situations just in the past couple of weeks where I knew that I had committed myself to do something work wise, but it didn't quite fit with, well, it didn't fit with my time. I was kind of overextended, and it didn't fit with what I really felt like I'm aligned to these webinars. Like, I love coming on and doing these webinars. I know that feeling. And you guys probably all know that feeling when you're aligned with what you're doing. These things were not aligned. And so I had a lot of guilt come up around, like, I really should, but it didn't. And it was taking up, you can tell, because it takes up far too much of your time. You're thinking about it, you're feeling about it, and you feel indecisive. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? So here's what I did. And in both situations, I did set a clear boundary. I expressed myself as best I could. One situation was disappointed, the other one said absolutely makes sense. And I can tell you that after just doing those two things, I felt 50% lighter in my body. And so even when you've practiced this stuff a lot, it's still not easy when you're worried about disappointing other people, right? So here's some signs. Like, obviously, if you're here tonight, something has drawn you here, whether you know it or not. But signs that you need healthy boundaries is you find yourself feeling angry at having too much to do, or just angry and resentful that you don't want to do something. Perhaps you dread the phone ringing or the text coming through and someone needs you. And there's that feeling of, oh, no, not someone else. It almost is like a feeling of burnout sometimes. anxiety about other people's feelings, that you might let them down, that they might be disappointed, and they might be. In fact, they probably will be disappointed. Feeling stress about an upcoming event or events, worried about the holidays, that you're going to get exhausted, you might feel pulled in too many different directions. These are signs that something needs to shift, because you do not want to spend another holiday going into it like that. You don't actually enjoy being around other people, perhaps like you used to. So it's not like you're loving being there and you're feeling that feeling of obligation. Maybe you look at your week, you see something coming up, or your calendar or list, and you just want to go to sleep. You just want to hide and hope that it all goes away. Not a good sign. The thought of how many of you here tonight, the thought of saying no to something or someone creates a lot of guilt. And it might be small, it might be something small for certain people, but it might be something bigger for other people. Big time. Yes, yeah. So that feeling of guilt is often what keeps us trapped in patterns that guilt is an energy. It doesn't feel great, does it? Yeah, it's an energy that you're feeling. So guilt equals feeling obligated to go and do something, because if you say no, and I've had many people say to me, you know what? It's easier for me to go do it than have to deal with the guilt afterwards. Like, that's how heavy it can feel, right? But if that pattern doesn't change, that guilt doesn't really go away. Or it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to ask for help when you've got too much to do. And many people, I'm sure there's a lot of like the type A's or high achievers here who have a hard time, who have maybe brought up in having that belief that I got to do it all myself. It's up to me. You know, I can do it on my own, which can be independence. It can also be a trauma response. So boundaries really, really lie at the root, the very root of self-care. So when we're talking self-care, you can have all the bubble baths in the world, or buy yourself flowers, or whatever you do to make yourself feel better. But if you don't have some idea around boundaries, it's almost like just continuing to put a band-aid on making yourself feel better and then feeling obligated, and then so it's always this bouncing around. And you can imagine what that does for your nervous system that needs to feel safe. Your nervous system, particularly with chronic pain, needs to have some confirmation that you've got its back, that you've got your own back, that you're going to be able to support yourself in what feels right for you. Sorry, that I heard something. Yeah. So boundaries are clearly expressed needs and expectations, move this chat box, that help you feel safe in relationships with other people and also in relationship with yourself. Like, how many of us here can say that we truly have our own back? Like, I'm truly going to support myself through every situation. Maybe not. And we live, breathe, and grow in relationships. So safety really is paramount. It doesn't mean that it's always peaceful and easy. But strong boundaries can actually survive the storms better. And if they don't survive the storms, and here's if you're worried about feeling guilty, about disappointing other people, often that comes from a place of feeling responsible for other people's emotions. So here's here's the, really the crux of it often. I might be jumping ahead of myself a little bit. But being okay with disappointing other people and feeling guilt in your body might be a growth edge for you. I hope I'm making this sense. So here's a little thing to try on right now as we're getting into this, and see what comes up for you right now. When you say to yourself, it's okay for me to feel guilty in my body. It's okay for me to feel guilty in my body. And or it's okay for me, it's okay for other people to feel disappointment. It's okay for other people to feel disappointment. Just test that out, because if you're not allowing it's not a matter of, here's something that we often mistake. We want to be able to set boundaries quickly, easily, so that everybody's happy and they'll just go away and we'll all be able to get on with it. But here's the thing, so that we don't have to feel guilty. But if we're always trying to escape the feeling of guilt, I can guarantee you that somehow you are moving your life around avoiding guilt, and probably not always acting in integrity. And I'm not a person to sit in judgment. Like, I have done this so many times. I will be the first to put my hand up. And until we come right to it and say, I'm allowed to feel guilty, I'm allowed to feel guilt in my body. Eventually, I'm hoping that you'll feel some freedom around that. I'm allowed to feel guilt in my body because that's what's here right now. Is that making sense to you, Mark, what I'm saying right now? Oh, mute.
Muted. Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're almost programmed to have to do things for people, responsibilities. There's so many things that we do that, sometimes you lose sight of what your needs are and what you need, and you function less efficiently. You feel angry, resentful, and until you strike a better balance of looking after yourself, and I can talk about that professionally, just like, yeah, my ears on call every time the phone rang. It's like, yeah, somebody wants something. They're not phoning you to offer you coffee at Timmy's. Everybody needs something from you. It wears you down. It's like, it never ends. So until you can set some boundaries, and it often is professionally very difficult to do that. And personally very difficult to do that. Yeah, you can get angry, frustrated, annoyed, and you don't function as well as you do, and it doesn't lead to happiness, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Without and all those things you just said, you can get angry and irritated, and all those things are actually just going around the nail, right? It's kind
Hmm.
of going around, when really, when you hit the nail on the head, it really is being able to express how you feel and what you need or
Yeah,
don't need, and being clear about it.
yeah, I mean, some things you can't get away from, professionally or
Yeah.
personally, and just at least recognizing that. But I think, we can probably do a better job about taking care of ourselves in terms of our own personal needs and boundaries.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I even think, like, even if you, for a lot of us who are empaths or highly sensitive people, maybe not all, but, often, and we start setting boundaries and we think, okay, I've got really good boundaries here. Sometimes I still think, even with myself, that I'm only setting really 10% of the boundaries that I could be setting. And so slowly over time, you can really, really get better and better at this until your life is moving in a way that feels comfortable for you. Um, so great question. An example of what guilt in my body feels or looks like. And yeah, I think that'll become more clear, but let's just do this right now. So think of a time, or actually, I can go right through it right now. Think of where right now there might be a situation coming up. There might be something around Christmas time that you'd like to look different, or holiday time. Um, there might be something you don't want, or someone that you really don't want in your life or as much. Think of something that you'd really like to set a boundary around. And when you've got something, you can ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? And just be really honest. There's no wrong answer. What am I really afraid of? Okay. And, if your answer is, well, I'm going to disappoint them, notice what it feels like to disappoint, to feel like you're letting other people down, to feel like something that you have done that they wanted you to, that you didn't show up, or you set that boundary. And notice what that feels like in your body. To feel that, we might as well get really familiar with this right now. So as I imagine it, I kind of feel a tightness in my chest. I feel kind of a heavy, a bit of a heaviness in my belly. When I feel guilty, it's like, that feeling of guilt in your body. But here is the secret. Feeling guilty doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. And guilt is an emotion that was created for us to have a guilty conscience, so that we could correct our behavior, right? So that's really the purpose of guilt. But when we're setting a boundary and we feel guilty about it, it's really tricky, because in those situations, guilt doesn't indicate that you've done anything wrong. So really let that sink in. Okay? All it's telling you in this situation is that you are doing something new. It's your growth edge, that you've just cut through a pattern that you may have had since childhood. And when we're kids, we're often letting people down. We're letting our parents down. We're letting our teachers down. And so we have this feeling of guilt that's sometimes appropriate, and sometimes we carry on with us into our adulthood. So I'm going to flip this on its head right now and say, when you set a boundary that you've thought about for a long time, it's not like you're not thinking about it, and you get clear about it, you set it and you feel guilty, I want you to welcome that guilt. Even, let's see how many people leave the webinar when I say this, even celebrate that guilt. Why? Because then your life will no longer be controlled by that guilt. Because what you're saying is, yes, I feel you. I'm allowed to feel guilt in my body now. It doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. It means that I have finally stepped into something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And when you're able to get to that point, and I'm not saying that I'm there, I'm sure Mark's not there perfectly, you can move through that guilt, and eventually the gift is that it will start to become less and less and less. It is like training for a marathon. You're building a new muscle, right? And in the beginning, it's uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the more your body, your nervous system goes, oh, right, last time I did this, I survived. Last time I did this, somebody was angry, but it worked out. Yeah. So sometimes guilt can make me then start blaming because I haven't done any. Yes, yes. And what a fantastic way to bypass what you're feeling. It's really common. Like, you set a boundary, they're not happy, then we get angry and start blaming. right? We get angry, like, how could they, oh, you're blaming this, the dialogue, right?
Mm.
Um, and what would it be like in those moments to pause and go, oh, I, I just feel really guilty in my body. I just feel really guilty. And I'm going to sit with this guilt for a little while. Maybe I'll go and do something really nice for myself. Um, yeah, Chris says, once I say no, I feel super relieved. Right. That's a good sign that that no was meant to happen. Yeah. But sitting with the guilt is, we're diving right into the very crux of this talk tonight, is probably the hardest part. But guilt when you're a child can really feel like, it can feel like life or death. It can feel like survival. But when you're an adult and you feel the guilt, know that you can still survive. And it sounds dramatic, but that's exactly how it can feel. Right? That's why we stay stuck. Yeah. How to get there. Okay, let's get there. This relationship also includes your relationship with yourself. We're going to get in a little bit into inner boundaries as well. So, boundaries actually create better, closer relationships with other people, because when we are behaving out of obligation or out of guilt, it's not a really honest way to show up. And we all do that. We all change and contort ourselves for other in different ways, but it's not always a close, intimate way to show up with someone, right? When maybe you don't really want to be there, and a more trusting relationship with ourselves. So learning to say no and when to say yes, as I said, it's an essential part of being able to be comfortable and safe in relationships. And the difficult part is when you say no, and some of you might be fearing, rejection or abandonment. If I say no, that person's not going to like me anymore. They might even leave my life. Um, and maybe, but often maybe not. Um, as a child, it absolutely can feel that way. But I would also question, if you set a boundary and that person is not okay with it. Oh, I just lost Mark. I would wonder what the relationship is based on, if you know what I mean. Okay. So you're back.
Yeah, I just had a problem there.
So how do you feel when you say yes, when you actually mean no? Think of a situation right now where you've obligated yourself and you really, inside your body was telling you a no. Out of your mouth came sure or yes. Often it creates anxiety and stress, poor sleep, that a brain on overload with racing thoughts. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I go? Avoidance of even wanting to tackle the problem, and a feeling of overwhelm and big time resentment. Yeah. Horrible, anxious, maybe even angry sometimes. Absolutely. Yeah. Self doubt. I know. Regrets. And I hope the whole thing cancels. And when it does, you just feel like incredibly like the universe is so on your side, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Lost rank because I stopped being her Uber driver. Yes. So it's hard because um, you really have to question then what the relationship was based on. Angry and disappointed with myself, angry, frustrated, regretful, and sometimes even depressed. Yes, yes. Racing thoughts, and the frustration feels really hard for me. So I really hear all of you, and I think you're already really getting an idea of how important this is for your health, because all of that emotional, energetic load is then in your body, and which is, really normal when you're out of integrity with yourself. And over time, it can really wear you down. Right? So I just want to read this. The family happy hour this Thursday. I said I would attend, and I will. When I get there, chances are I will be expected to stay longer than planned, have a family picture taken. It's difficult when and I'm going to put quotes around the black sheep of the family. And the reason I say that is because, sometimes people get labeled when they step out of the family pattern, and become labeled the black sheep. So I hear you. I hear you. So much compassion. It sounds difficult. Yeah. I hate letting people down. I obviously choose to let myself down. Yeah, that's really it. This stress is bad news for our health. I'll tell you that much. So the cost of not having clear boundaries is, what did I put there? Of course, it's your health. So this is something we all have the ability to do, and it can have a huge impact on your well-being, as we can see already from all the emotions that we experience when we're, not in integrity with our true yes. So again, the root of self-care is boundaries. Because if I don't have enough time, I'm going to be in overwhelm. So the question is, who then owns your time? So right now, who owns your time? And you might say, well, my pain owns my time, or all these doctor's appointments own my time. They might own a portion of your concentration, of your attention, and of your time. But then, are you also using that as an excuse to not take control of the time that you do have? Paying attention to yourself and your own needs is self-care. This is saying no, saying yes to yourself is self-care. And it creates a bubble of safety or protection around you. And in the beginning, it can seem hard, but it's going to become more and more clear. Like you've got your own back. Because how many people here have waited for somebody else to recognize that they don't want to be there? How many people have waited for somebody else to set that boundary for them? Like, they should know. Can't they tell? Can't they tell that they're interrupting me? They should know not to call me at 2:00 in the afternoon when I'm at work, right? They should know. Okay, watch for that, because maybe they should know, but even maybe they do know and they're still calling you. Maybe they don't know. Take back that responsibility for yourself and tell them. So, because, yeah, you would know, because you're probably a sensitive, caring person if you're here. And I can guarantee that you pretty much all are. So you would know, and you would probably recognize someone else's boundary, but they're not you. So 2 reasons boundaries are so hard sometimes to keep. And this is not what I see taught a lot about how to say no, but I find this comes up a lot, and I can't see how it wouldn't. Old, outdated beliefs about yourself or others that were learned in childhood, such as it's selfish to take time for yourself. It's not okay, or it's not safe to say no. If it wasn't okay to say no within your family, chances are that's something you learned really well. It's my job or my responsibility to look after other people's needs first. In fact, it might be a part of my identity that I'm the one that looks after other people's needs first. Identities change, identities shift, and for good reason sometimes. I'm a bad person if I don't look after other people or let other people down. And that's where that guilt kind of comes in there. I cannot disappoint other people. They won't like me, leave me, I'll be rejected or abandoned. And I like to bring these all out, like just get them all out of the closet to begin with, because to know that if you're going, oh yeah, that's me, perfect, because now you can see it. You can't heal anything if you can't see it first. Mark, I'm going on a roll here. Sorry, I
Mhm.
haven't really included you in the discussion.
It's
If you want to,
okay.
yeah, if you want to hop in there.
Hmm.
Um,
No, I agree with you. I mean, a lot of it sounds familiar, personal and familiar. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, um, yeah, especially that childhood conditioning. Yeah, the difficulty in saying no because it doesn't feel okay, and you just
mhm.
feel bad for not saying no.
Yeah.
You know, yeah,
Or for not saying yes. Yeah.
you end up being frustrated and irritated and just do it, which everybody picks up on. So
Yeah, I think you just really nailed it. It's there's an energy there. So you do it anyway, but you're doing it resentfully.
hmm
Not with love, but with resentment. And
hmm
and that those types of actions don't really help anyone, right?
no,
I mean,
no, not
you
really.
can care give for someone or give to someone with love because you really want to and you're well rested, or you can give to someone with complete resentment. That doesn't feel
Hmm.
good, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've all done both, and there's a huge difference in how that feels, and the other person picks up on it, unless they're completely oblivious, but most of the time they can feel it,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I
and
think that's really important to recognize. Yeah.
they don't feel good either. So
No,
yeah,
no, no. Yeah. So hard to break this. Yeah. And put yourself first. It takes practice. And again, it's like running, it's like training, it's like building a muscle. It gets easier over time. And that is my promise to you. Inability to tolerate your own or other people's emotions. So they will be angry. Yep, they just might be. Be open to the fact that they might be angry and you can survive. I will feel guilty. Yep, you probably will. There's a reason why it's been so hard. Welcome that guilt, know that it's going to arrive. And I mean, I make it sound really easy, and I'm not saying that it is. Believe me, for coming from a reformed 100% people pleaser, um, that guilt can feel very uncomfortable. I won't be able to survive it. So that's a childhood pattern that can't see the other side of the boundary. So, and it sounds silly, of course, I'll be able to survive it, but it can feel what I want you to imagine and spend some time tonight imagining what it feels like on the other side of setting that boundary. Because our mind only takes us up to where we set the boundary and then probably takes you to guilt and everything after that. But it doesn't take us beyond that to what it might feel like Chris said. It's like it can feel very relieving too. And here is also the secret. These emotions, they don't last long if we stop avoiding them. In fact, what does the research say? 20 seconds if we allow them, 30 seconds for the intensity of guilt. So here's a practice. When you leave here tonight and you have a plan to set a boundary on something, what I want you to do is to set it in the best way or say it or do, maybe your boundary on yourself is to go to bed at 9 o'clock. I don't know. But if you're getting flack from yourself or other people to not do anything for 24 hours, just don't do anything. Don't try to avoid it. Don't apologize. Don't call back. Don't text back. Just do nothing. And after 24 hours, see how you feel then. Pause. So my mind tricks me by reversing the statements. I make myself disliked. I make them leave. I make them leave me. They abandon me. Yeah. So So then that becomes, oh, it's about me. This is my fault, right? And notice if that is also a pattern, because often if we have difficulty setting boundaries, feeling guilty, that is absolutely where, we believe like this is about me, this is my fault. And if you just spread your awareness out a little bit, is their reaction your fault? And it might be a part of you right now is saying, of course it is. Of course it is. I caused them to do that. But look at that again. Is their reaction your fault? You don't know how they're going to react. They could be happy, maybe they're relieved, they could get angry. There's a million ways that they can react that you have zero control over. It's almost like what people think about you is more about them than it actually is about you. It's based on their own belief system that we can never, ever control, ever. This is big stuff. You will survive. It will get easier. And guilt doesn't mean that you've done something wrong or that it's all your fault. It just feels that way. And boy, does it feel that way. Okay? Yeah. And then we do so many things to numb out and avoid feeling guilty or ashamed, whether it's drinking or avoiding or blaming or criticizing. Changing patterns is uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be. This is your growth edge, you guys. So it's like this guy with a medicine ball. They call it a medicine ball because if you catch it, you'll need painkillers. So the reason I put that in there is like, don't catch the whole medicine ball to begin with. It's painful. But start with a tennis ball. Start with something lighter, easier. Maybe asking someone in your household to like put the toilet seat down, or I don't know, it could be anything. It could be boundaries on yourself, making sure that you eat well, whatever it might be. But start with something small tonight, because what are the consequences of not setting the boundary or not speaking up a year, 2, or 10 years from now? So I'm going to strongly encourage you to experiment, because survival as a child trumps everything. If you have learned that it's not safe to express your emotions, needs, or individuality as a child, you're not alone having difficulty expressing healthy boundaries. I hope that makes sense. If that was a pattern as a child, it's going to be it can be, not always, but you may have learned the way I feel and my feelings are not important. I don't matter. So if you have that belief that me, myself, and I don't really matter, other people are probably going to run over your boundaries. What's the point? No one listens to me anyway. So kind of going into a bit of the victim mentality. Nobody listens. It might be true. Nobody listens to you. But you can still step in and set your boundary. It's okay. They didn't mean it. I set a boundary, say, for example, and they yelled at me. Oh, it's okay. They didn't mean it. Well, maybe that's not okay. Maybe that also will require some more discussion, that's not okay with you to be yelled at when you set a boundary. Okay. It's tricky, hey? Let me know if questions are coming up as I'm on my roll. Because I just really know how life-changing this can be, and I also am very aware of how difficult it is until you start. inner boundaries. So do you listen to and respect the boundaries on yourself? So it might be, one of your boundaries might be, I'm going to express myself and I'm not going to apologize this time for it. I'm not going to keep apologizing that I'm sorry that I can't do this, or I'm sorry that I can't go to the party. And when you find yourself falling back into those old patterns, coming back to set a boundary on yourself, or maybe you're a person that blames or rages or criticizes, but coming back to, that's one of your patterns, coming back to yourself and having a little discussion with you. Nope, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that apologizing thing this time. Remember? I'm talking to myself. Remember what we decided? We decided we're going to try something new. And we decided that we're going to try not to over-explain ourselves, because when we over-explain, it puts us in a position of defending and of a one-downness, if that makes sense. I promised I would not go into that dialogue anymore, right? I promised I would not get into that argument anymore. Nope. I promised I would leave it 24 hours, go walk, breathe, or meditate today. Sometimes we do need to speak to that little inner child inside of us that believes it's all our fault, and almost reparent ourselves is really. Remember, we're not criticizing ourselves today. Remember, just coaching my own inner self here. We said we're not feeling pressure to do that. Well, I said I'm not going to feel pressure to do that. No, I'm not hiding today. I actually said I would show up. Or what other inner boundary might you not be respecting in yourself? Just going to put that out there for a minute.
I think Candace had her hand up, so I'm just wondering if there's something that she wanted to say.
Oh, all right. Candace, did you have a question? Let me know. You can put it in the Q&A or in the chat. Nope, sorry. Okay. All right. Yeah, so great comment. Over-explaining opens me up to other people's judgment, which of course I have no control over. Sometimes less said is better, because when we go into over-explaining, apologizing, defending, it puts you in a, I mean, you're not going into full-on warfare here, but it puts you in a weaker position, because here's the thing. It's okay to say, I really don't feel like going to that party tonight. Most of us will make up a reason, and that's okay. But it's also okay to say, I just don't feel like it. Inside my body, I don't feel like it. That is okay to say. Permission to say that. Often like I say, we'll say something else so that it's easier. But there's nothing wrong with it. More goes towards quality. The other feel a penny saved is a penny earned. We have to share. One feels if you don't get it, they tend to put off doing it. My expectations are causing a rift. Okay. Interesting, Deborah. Yeah. It sounds like a good realization, And is it your riff, or are you able to just stick to what you believe in? Yeah. So asking yourself, what do I really need inside of myself? What do I really need? And and you might feel like you need to be heard, you need to be seen or listened to by other people. But are you able to see and really listen to what you to yourself? What the psychiatrist is like to you to get in touch with your inner child's inner child's inner child's inner child. That might take a little while, but really touching in um, to yourself and what you really need. And I always think that's a bit of a lifetime journey to keep coming back to. And maybe what you need is true connection. Maybe it's finding people around you that you truly want to be with and connect with, feel connected with. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you really need rest or quiet. Maybe you really need to get your own stuff done. Or conversely, maybe you do really want to go out and socialize. But the touch point, the touchstone, can it be inside of you at least a little more often? So just coming to the end a little bit here to think about, and then I'm going to give you some suggestions for how to actually say it, because I find that using your imagination and practice can make it a lot easier to just keep saying it. Just keep saying it and keep using the wording so we don't fumble, because we often freeze when we go to do something new and lose our word, lose our voice. So thinking about physical space, space, rest, quiet, emotional boundaries, how much we share and how much we receive emotionally. If you have a friend that feels like they can just call you up and do an emotional dump on you, and you end up feeling like you've just lifted 1,000 pounds after you get off the phone, a boundary really needs to be set. You can't be spending that kind of energy. Time boundaries, how much we respect our own time and the time of others. Intimacy, how much we engage with others through touch and intimacy. Some people are like not huggers at all, like they don't like to be touched. Other people really do. So check in with yourself, and either is fine. Psychological boundaries, how much we share or receive about our thoughts, beliefs, and opinions. You're in charge. You're in charge of that. You get to say who and where and what you share. So boundaries exist on a spectrum between yes and no. Some things are a very clear no, a very clear yes. But this is something that's not always taught. You're allowed to be on the spectrum. You're allowed to pause and say, I'm not sure. I'll get back to you on it. I'll have to think about that. If you're not sure, that's okay. I'll let you know by Friday. Give yourself a timeline. I don't know if I can, but I'll see. I don't know if I want to right now, so I'll let you know. And I mean, yes, these can be used as biding time before you say no, but you can absolutely use them. I'd like to, but I might have to cancel if my pain is bad that day. So you might express, I live with chronic pain. I don't know how I'm going to be that day. I would like to, I'll do my best, but don't be surprised if I have to cancel that day. Okay? Be honest. It might feel really good, because that pressure is difficult for pain. It sounds like a wonderful idea, but I'll have to let you know that day, because as you guys know, this is the nature of chronic pain. Sometimes we can make plans and then not be able to follow through and then feel guilty. Give them the heads up. Mark, I don't know if you have anything to say there to add to that at all about what to say or how to set them.
I think there's been a lot that you've run through, and I mean, just emotionally, there's a lot that's come up for people. So sometimes just letting that kind of digest because I'm sure it's probably from just the comments, it stirs up a lot of thought in people. And sometimes you just, there is a lot coming,
Mm-hmm. It's a very loaded topic for a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's a loaded yet necessary topic. Um, and I do want to emphasize that there's nothing wrong with you, right? There's nothing that, oh, now I've got to set all these boundaries and it feels like too much and that feels too stressful. No, I want to take all of that away right now and say, if you've noticed one thing in your life that you feel that you could improve upon, just doing that one thing, I will feel so good
Mm-hmm.
to you and your nervous system. So healthy boundaries look like, this is what it actually looks like. Because let's face it, how many of us were brought up and taught how, or modeled healthy boundaries? I think I've yet to really meet someone,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So we all come upon this honestly in our lives. Okay? It
Mm-hmm.
looks like being really clear about your values and opinions. Not, oh, I don't mind. Okay, here's an example. When somebody asks you, what movie do you want to see? Do you say, well, I don't mind. Which one do you want to see? And then they say, well, I don't mind. Which one do you want to see? And doesn't it feel good when someone says to you, maybe not, I really want to see this movie. It starts at 6:20. Are you in? Can you feel the difference in that? And you can say yes or no. That really clear. Sharing with others appropriately. Yeah, having a healthy vulnerability with people that you trust. So sharing where it feels safe to share, and not where you share for the sake of it and then you feel kind of like vulnerable afterwards. Right? You don't have to be rigid, and you're also allowed to change your mind. Right? So if somebody asks you where you want to go for dinner, you can say, I really feel like Mexican tonight, and then you think, oh no, actually no, I really prefer this other place. Okay, there's no rules, but just becoming comfortable saying no. And one question also to ask yourself is, how do you feel when other people say no to you? How do you feel? And can you, if you're not comfortable with it, can you get comfortable with that? Can you get comfortable and respect that in other people, and even like, high five them, even if it's just by yourself, to say like, wow, I'm really proud of that person for being able to say no, even though I'm disappointed. Oh, there we go. Being comfortable hearing no without taking it personally. Okay. Can we get a little bit easy, a little bit, can we get better at this? I'm almost at the end here. I know we're going a little bit over. I know some people have to go, but I just have about 2 or 3 more slides. So clear, healthy communication. This is actually quite important. To focus on you and what you're saying and not the outcome. So I might go in with fingers crossed, like, oh, I hope they're not mad. I hope, I hope. They might be. Let's get comfortable with the option that they might be really angry. It doesn't mean what you said was wrong. Or they might be really happy. Still, you said the same thing. So taking away your focus from the outcome or how other people react to you and your expression of what is true for you. Expect the pushback, whether or not it's there. It doesn't have to mean anything. And again, you will survive feeling guilty. You will survive disappointing others. And they will survive. There's been so much written about, it's reminding me of like helicopter parenting. How, a helicopter parent will, come in a helicopter and prevent any emotional distress or disappointment for their child. And it's actually taking away their power and their ability to develop their own emotional muscle. Because they will survive. They'll survive disappointment, rejection, the whole thing. Kids survive. And we're all resilient. And do something to nurture yourself. After you say it, do something to nurture yourself right away. Right away, go and comfort yourself, comfort your nervous system, and whatever that might be, a walk, just to practice comforting your own nervous system when it feels challenged. Don't engage in the over-explaining. It's just, and another, there was a tool that I learned many, many years ago called the broken record. Is anybody else familiar with that? Restating your boundary when you feel ignored. You say it again and again, they're not hearing you or they're defensive. Yes, it works. Restate your boundary like a broken record, and you can practice it again and again and again if you like. They're going to get sick and tired of you until they hear you. You are building a muscle, and it is supposed to be uncomfortable. So communicate and then action. So I really feel tired. I need to stay home tonight. You can fill in your own blanks. Making requests. When we have a disagreement, and you guys will get the recording, so I just wanted to make sure I had examples there that you can take away with you tonight. Could you lower your tone and take a break when needed? And I will too. I really enjoy seeing you, but if you can't make it, could you text a few hours beforehand? And I will too. Who has the last minute canceller in their life? Or, you're already there and then they cancel. So you really got to express something around that, or you're going to get resentful. I would love to help you out, but I just can't that day. I need quiet in the morning. Could you give me half an hour to wake up and then we can talk? So a spatial boundary. Yep, you got a canceller. Yeah, you probably want to deal with that from the get-go. Get out front of them. We would love to have you dinner, but I really need my sleep. So how does 5 p.m. sound? And then I can still be in bed by 9. Does anybody have the people in their lives who come and then they don't leave? And with pain, you often need your sleep. Set some boundaries. Repeating, clarifying, expressing again if the boundary is not honored. For example, every time you take my car, I'd appreciate it if you would clean it out when you bring it back and fill it up with gas. That's just an example. I actually don't have that situation in my life, if you're wondering. And then I'm going to leave you with this to embody your no energy. So if you have really a lot of trouble, your no comes out very high and quiet and squeaky, kind of like no, like almost like a question, like no. Just, as you practice it, you want to get stronger in that, stronger, do it in front of the mirror. And if you want to really embody the energy, you might take a stance like this fellow here. And if you do yoga, it's like a warrior stance, and even push against a wall, feeling the strength in your feet, and practice saying no. Say no. You might do it with me right now. No, and you don't have to put your hand up when you're talking to someone. You're saying no, but it gives you the energy of no. See, that sounded like a question. No, no, no. And yeah, if you need to practice with resistance, you can even do it against a wall until you really feel it in your body. We're really building that muscle. And there's lots of practices for, taking up your own space, your own energetic space around you. You can practice seeing, where you feel comfortable with, having just a protective, energetic, spatial barrier around you. And if I'm talking like complete nonsense to you, just ignore that part. So imagine your no, practice it, stand taller, take up space, feel it and embody it. And then when the time comes, it's going to come out a lot easier. Okay. And this is good pain medicine. In fact, I don't know, Mark, what you would think, but I would say it's essential. You can get medications, injections, you can do all the things, but if you're being just run over by other people, there's a very good chance that you're still not going to feel good.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, it also goes to respecting yourself, if you can't respect or look after yourself, and you don't know that you're not respecting your choices, if you keep compromising, then I think all that frustration and anger, and it just builds up in you. And yeah, it's not very good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, it might feel painful setting the first, or, setting boundaries. It might feel stressful. But all the way, Dr. Gabor Mate, I just love his saying that all the ways that we try to avoid the pain, create more suffering.
Hmm.
So I would love, as we wrap up, for people to perhaps think of one area that could use a little bit of cleaning up in their own life. And it could be physical cleaning up. It could be that boundary. I'm going to clean out that closet like tomorrow because I've been saying it for a year. And every time I say it, I feel bad. So I'm going to do that tomorrow. Or I'm going to, set a boundary on something. I'm going to say no to something. Is there anything that anybody that's coming up for people right now that they already know? You don't have to share it. You might just say a yes. That will take you one step closer to yourself. And I did say leading into the holidays, so I must have been thinking ahead to thinking quite a lot ahead. Yeah, it really does, Karen, come down to I am worthy. I am worthy of my own time. I'm worthy of my own life and my own needs. Professional boundary setting. Yeah, stop apologizing to colleagues about large systemic caseload sizes and wait times for clients. Oh, that's a biggie. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, like you say, systemic is a key word there. Yeah, yeah. So before we should sign off, I just want to check in if there's any further questions or comments. Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that that's been helpful. And just want to make sure there was something I missed back here. Yeah. Yeah, and encouragement, just encouragement. Absolutely, always. Just to keep going, everyone. Keep going. You are worth setting your boundaries, and come back to the recording, which will be posted on the website if you want that exact wording, and start practicing your embodied no. Your embodied no. And then you might start practicing your embodied yes, like what really feels good to you to welcome more of, because the more you say no to what you don't want, I promise you more yeses will show up. And that's what happened to me just recently when I said no to two things. It made space for something else that I really wanted to show up in my days. So yeah, and I wish that for all of you. Thanks everyone. Thanks for going
Thanks.
overtime tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
All
Thank you.
right. Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.